Once upon a time, in a place not too far away from our own, there was a boy who loved animals more than anything else in the world. He would spend his days at the library reading books about them, learning everything he could, and dreaming of one day meeting them in person. One day, while browsing the shelves, Leo came across an old, dusty book that had a peculiar name. It was called Creatures of the Past. As he opened it, he found that it wasn't like any other book he'd seen before. Instead of words and pictures, it had strange symbols on every page. Curious, he took the book home and showed it to his grandma, who was a retired teacher and knew a lot about history. "Do you know what this means, Grandma?" he asked hopefully. She took a look and shook her head. "I'm afraid I don't, Leo." "Why don't you ask your grandpa? He's always tinkering with gadgets and gizmos. Maybe he can help." So off he went to his grandpa, who lived in a little cottage at the end of the garden. Grandpa looked at the book and scratched his beard. This looks like an ancient form of communication. I think I might have something that can translate it," he said, disappearing into his workshop. Moments later he returned, holding a strange device that looked like a combination of an old radio and a telescope. "What does it do, Grandpa?" asked Leo. "It's a chronolator," he replied mysteriously. "It can take us anywhere in time if we know where to look, and I think this book is our ticket to the past." Leo's eyes widened with excitement. Could this mean he would get to see real live dinosaurs? He couldn't believe his luck. But before they could go any further, Grandpa stopped him. "Hold on, Leo. This machine doesn't just transport us through time. It also takes us to the place where the book was found. That's how we know it works. So pack your bags. We're going on an adventure." They set off in their trusty old car, following the directions from the book until they reached a clearing in the middle of the forest, and there in front of them was a huge, shimmering portal. "Wow," whispered Leo, amazed by what he was seeing. Just then, a small blue bird with emerald green feathers landed on his shoulder. "Welcome, travelers, to the Kronos forest," she said in a melodious voice. "I am the guardian of this place and these creatures of the past. You may enter, but you must promise to protect them and not interfere with their way of life." Without hesitation, Leo and his grandpa stepped through the portal and found themselves in a world unlike anything they'd ever seen before. Tall trees with leaves of silver and gold reached up towards the sky, and strange, beautiful animals roamed freely through the forest. As they walked deeper into this magical place, Leo couldn't believe his eyes. He saw herds of graceful creatures that looked like horses with long necks and striped tails. These were definitely the ancestors of today's giraffes. Further on, he spotted a group of small, furry creatures with big ears and bushy tails hopping around. They were so cute. "Are those real live dinosaurs, Grandpa?" he asked excitedly. "Not yet, Leo," his grandpa replied with a smile. "We still have some time traveling to do. Just wait until we reach the crystal pool. That's where the time stream is the strongest, and we'll be able to see the dinosaurs." But suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the forest, and they turned to see a massive creature with a long tail and sharp claws running towards them. It was covered in scales and had a fierce expression on its face. "Run!" shouted Grandpa, grabbing Leo's hand and pulling him away. They raced through the undergrowth as fast as they could, but the dinosaur was quick and soon caught up to them. Just when they thought all hope was lost, the blue bird from before swooped down and started pecking at the dinosaur's eyes. Blinded and confused, the creature stumbled and fell to the ground, allowing Leo and his grandpa to escape. Panting heavily, they stopped to catch their breath. "Thank you for saving us, little bird," said Leo. "It's my duty to protect these animals," she replied. "But you must hurry now. If you want to see the dinosaurs, we'll take you to them." And with that, She led them to a clearing where a huge waterfall cascaded into a crystal-clear pool. The water sparkled and shimmered, and as Leo and his grandpa gazed into it, they saw the most amazing creatures they had ever imagined. There were huge dinosaurs with long necks and tails that looked like giant lizards. There were smaller ones that walked on two legs and had sharp teeth and claws. There were even flying reptiles soaring through the air. Leo couldn't believe what he was seeing. It was like stepping back in time millions of years. The blue bird explained that these were all extinct animals, meaning they no longer existed in the present day. Some had gone extinct a long time ago, like the dinosaurs, while others had died out more recently, like the dodo bird. As they watched, a group of small, flightless birds hopped closer. They had stubby wings and couldn't fly very far, but they were surprisingly fast on the ground. "Why can't they fly?" asked Leo. The bluebird sighed sadly. "These are dodos, and they evolved from white-throated rails that flew over from Madagascar. Over time, they lost their ability to fly because there were no predators on the island to scare them away. But unfortunately, when humans arrived, they hunted the dodos for food and destroyed their habitat. That's why there are no dodos left today." Leo felt a pang of sadness in his heart. He didn't want any more animals to go extinct while he was here. "Is there anything we can do to help them?" he asked the bluebird. "Yes," she replied. "You can spread the word about what you've seen here and make sure that people understand how important it is to protect animals and their habitats. Even the smallest actions can make a big difference." Suddenly, a large cat with saber-like teeth and claws emerged from the bushes. Its fur was the color of snow, and it had piercing blue eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light. "Oh my gosh, a saber-toothed tiger," gasped Leo. He'd always wanted to see one of these magnificent creatures, but he knew they had gone extinct thousands of years ago. The bluebird explained that this one was different, though. This was a smilodon, a kind of saber-toothed cat that lived in South America until about 11,000 years ago. It went extinct because of climate change and the loss of its habitat. As Leo watched, the smilodon let out a loud roar and began pacing back and forth. It was clearly agitated and scared. "Can we help it?" asked Leo. The bluebird shook her head. "This one is different," she said. "It comes from a different time and place. I'm afraid we can't help it." Just then, the chronolator started beeping and flashing red. "Oh no," said Grandpa. "That means it's time for us to go. I'm sorry, Leo, but we can't stay here any longer." Although he was disappointed, Leo knew his grandpa was right. He had learned so much about extinct animals and the importance of protecting them that he didn't want to forget what he had seen and heard. Before they left, the bluebird gave him a small crystal that glowed with a soft, warm light. "Keep this with you, Leo," she said. "It will remind you of your journey here and the animals you met along the way." With a heavy heart, Leo and his grandpa stepped back into the chronolator and closed their eyes, bracing for the return trip. When they opened their eyes again, they were back in the forest clearing. The portal was gone, and the only evidence that they had ever been there was the crystal in Leo's pocket. He knew he couldn't keep what he'd seen and learned a secret, so he started by telling his family and friends all about the animals he'd met and the importance of protecting them. Soon, everyone in his town was talking about the extinct animals that roamed the Kronos forest. Together, they made plans to help save endangered animals and protect their habitats. Leo even wrote a story about his adventures for the local newspaper, which was read by thousands of people. From that day on, Leo never forgot the animals he'd met in the Kronos forest. He continued to learn about extinct animals and share their stories with everyone he met, hoping that one day they would be brought back to life and that the world would be a better place for all living things. The end.